There's a reason some people just always seem to get their way. And spoiler alert, it's not magic, it's psychology. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on some of the subtle techniques that influencers, leaders, and maybe even people you know use to control situations, often without you even realizing it. I mean, just imagine for a second that you had that power. The ability to read emotions, influence someone's thoughts, and kind of nudge their decisions. It sounds like something out of a comic book, but it's really just pure applicable psychology. Okay, but before we dive in, a really important heads up. These techniques are incredibly powerful, and with that power comes a whole lot of responsibility. We're doing this so you can understand human nature, not so you can go out and manipulate it. Seriously. All right, let's get into our first technique. It's called the revenge trap, and it's built on a simple, kind of funny human truth. We are often drawn to do the exact thing we're told not to do. There's a name for this. It's called reactance. It's that knee-jerk urge to resist when we feel like we're being controlled. And this slide just shows it perfectly. Look at the difference. You could ask a friend, hey, can you do this for me? And you might get a no. Or you could try the reverse trap. I had some work, but forget it. It's probably too difficult for you anyway. All of a sudden, their ego's on the line, and now they have this burning need to prove you wrong. So yeah, this is classic reverse psychology. By forbidding something, or even just challenging someone's ability to do it, you tap right into their deep need for autonomy, that feeling of being in control of their own choices. They end up doing exactly what you wanted, but in their mind, it was their decision, their choice to prove themselves. You didn't force them at all, you just guided their impulse. And building on that whole idea of subtle guidance, our second technique is the illusion of choice. This one is all about framing. See, real power isn't about forcing someone to make a decision. It's about designing the options they have to choose from. This example just lays it out so clearly. If you ask, want to go out, you've opened the door for a simple, not tonight. But if you ask, hey, should we go to Pizza Hut or Domino's? You've completely changed the game. The question is no longer if you're going out, it's just where are you going? So why does this work so well? Well, it turns out most of us don't actually want total unlimited freedom. We want the feeling of freedom within a structure. By giving someone two pre-approved options, you make them feel like they're in the driver's seat, even though you've already decided on the destination. It's a hugely powerful tool, and you see it everywhere, from marketing to politics. All right, now for a tool that's a bit more emotionally charged, the guilt trap. When it's used subtly, guilt can be way more persuasive than any direct order or accusation ever could be. Let's look at this scenario. Imagine you have a friend who keeps canceling on you. A direct accusation like, you never make time for me, is just going to put them on the defensive. But the guilt trap approach, I understand. If I were important, you'd probably make time. Well, that's completely different, isn't it? It reframes their actions as a reflection of how much they value you, and it forces them to confront that idea head-on. And that's the absolute key. You're not forcing them to do anything. You're just holding up an emotional mirror. They see their own behavior reflected back at them, and that feeling as guilt compels them to want to apologize and make things right. And it feels like it's coming from them. This leads us perfectly into our fourth and maybe the most fundamental principle of all, the emotional hijack. The truth is, most of our decisions, the big ones and the small ones, they're not driven by cold, hard logic. They're driven by emotion. Just think about that for a second. You probably don't remember all the bullet points from a presentation you saw last year, but I bet you remember if it made you feel inspired or bored to tears. That feeling is what sticks, and that's the key to influencing anyone. An emotional hijack is that exact moment when a strong feeling, like pride or fear or anger, grabs the steering wheel from our rational mind. Politicians are absolute masters of this. They don't just list facts, they tell stories that are designed to make you feel something powerful. Because once you connect with that feeling, your logical brain kind of takes a back seat, and you're much more likely to be persuaded. And now for our final and number one technique. And honestly, this one might be the most powerful and underestimated of them all. The power of silence. It's not about what you say, it's about what you don't say. I think a lot of us can relate to this. Think back to when you were a kid and you messed up. Maybe one parent would yell, list off everything you did wrong. But the other one just looked at you. No words. Just a quiet, disappointed stare. Now, which one felt worse? Which one was more intimidating? It was the silence, right?
Because when you say nothing, in that quiet, their own mind starts racing to fill the void. It projects its own guilt, its own fears, its own insecurities onto your silence. Your lack of a reaction becomes a blank canvas for their own inner turmoil, and they literally start to argue with themselves.
So how do you actually apply it? Well, here are 2 killer ways. If you want to get the truth from someone, you can just say, "I know everything," and then just wait. Go completely silent. Their own anxiety will do the rest of the work for you. In an argument, just stop talking. Hold eye contact, maybe with a tiny little smile. It is incredibly unnerving, and it can make the other person completely doubt their own position. And this just sums it all up, doesn't it? Real power isn't held by the loudest person in the room. It's held by the person who listens, who observes, and who understands when to use their words. And, more importantly, when to just use their silence. So we've unpacked the tools. We've looked at the mechanics behind real influence. But it brings up a huge question, and it's the one I want to leave you with. Now that you know all this, where do you draw the line between influence and manipulation? That's definitely something to think about.